At $200, a Super Nintendo setup costs twice as much as the old system. For the money, the company promises better pictures, sound, and adventure. Now you're playing with power, superpower. You're the king, I tell you! The king!
Only for Super NES.
Only on Super NES.
You're listening to the SNES Podcast with your host, Soulblazer.
Hello, folks. This is Super NES Podcast, episode number 275. I am Greg, joined always by Joe.
Hello.
And for our first new game of 2026, we're operating off the new list that we just generated. We are doing for you two fighting games back to back here for a change, but they're different enough that that they're very different. They're clear copies of more popular games of the time period because you had to know then when fighting games were coming because it was the early 90s and fighting games were totally in their craze period during this time period. But this game we're covering, this podcast, Doomsday Warrior. This was a Joe pick. Joe, how did you hear about this game? Because I never did.
So I heard of this game when it was added to the Switch online service.
Yep. Okay.
That was my introduction to it. I didn't know anything about the game. Went and was like, I won't touch it because at some point we'll cover it on the podcast. in all honesty. So I was like, all right, well, now's the time. Like we went through like a slew of bad games last year. So I was like, hopefully this will kind of turn that around. So that was my thought process. Yeah,
this was added to the Switch back in February 2021, and it really was a surprise pick because it's like nobody really expected this game to be on here. Spoiler, nobody was really craving for this game to be on here. But I think the reason it got added was because that there are certain companies like Konami, they have licenses with Nintendo.
Yep.
They get their games ported over the Switch emulation service. The company that made this game, Telenet Japan, which we'll talk about here briefly in a bit, is now bankrupt. Their rights picked up by Sunsoft, and Sunsoft already had some of their games on the Switch, so it makes sense that Sunsoft would be like, okay, here's our whole catalog for you to put on here.
Yeah,
so,
exactly.
It's filler, basically, is what it is. But just they say they could add a game onto there because we haven't seen a new Super NES game on there for a while, I think now. I know they added the Koei games several months ago, but I don't think we've gotten a release on there since then.
They've kind of gone radio silence on that whole thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, they are still trickling out games here and there for some of the systems, but obviously Switch 2 and the GameCube, it's going to have the burn of their attention from here on out. Anyway, Doomsday Warrior. That's the North American name. In Japan, the game is known as Tagetsu Brass Numbers, which means confrontation brass numbers. I don't know where that. I'm not sure what the title means or where it came from, but that was a Japanese name. It came out in Japan in November of 92 with a North American release in March of 93. Never made it to PAL lands. We have talked about LaserSoft before in the past, but because I was like during the Valis 4 episode 10 years ago, I figure nobody would mind if I get the company like a quick revisit. Telenet Japan was a very large, both developer and publisher that was active from 1983 to 2007. They made games for a lot of systems. With actually the PC Engine being their bread and butter, which was a very popular system in Japan. The North American version we know as TurboGrafx-16, which for various reasons did not do very well over here in the States, but. In Japan, the PC Engine was very successful, so it makes sense. It makes sense that they would be the ones, giving it a lot of love. As I mentioned before, when they went bankrupt, Sunsoft got the rights got the rights to most of their games, not all their games. It's actually kind of ironic. I actually did a chuckle when I saw doing research that Telnet had developed this game because. Quick side story. I was given, as part of Secret Santa package, last month, some gift cards for the Nintendo Switch store. So I'm looking through the store trying to be like, okay, what games here are exclusives? Because I prefer to buy games for Steam if I can. But I already had a lot of the exclusive games for the system. So finally, I settled upon two collections of a re-release of some classic JRPGs called Cosmic Warrior. Cosmic Fantasy, which came out between 1990 and 1994 for the PC Engine. Most of the games never got North American release. For some reason, Working Design did pick the second game to come over here, like the TurboGrafx 16 CD, but almost nobody had that, so I'm not surprised. Surprised nobody heard of it. But the Cosmic Fantasy series was well known for being one of the first, if not the first, JRPG to actually feature both anime-style cutscenes and also and also voice acting, like in the games, which through the 90s was very impressive. The games aren't anything special by today's standards, but yeah, if you were a kid lucky enough to have a CD-based system, back then, you definitely would have been wowed by the fancy music and the animation and whatnot. And there actually is a connection to this game. We'll be talking about that as well too. So I'll get that here in in a moment. Telnet was probably best known for having developed the Valius series, which I just mentioned, Valius 4. We already covered in the podcast about 10 years ago. They also developed the original Megami Tensei, which also which later become would later have a sequel, sequel come out for it known. A sequel come out for it, which is now a very popular franchise. So. Most of their games did not come over here in North America. I'll mention their Genesis titles real quick, Joe. See if you've heard of any of these. These were games that they developed. Beast Wrestler. Yep. Let's see. This was Japan only. I think Tracia looks like it was also North America. And also the first and third Valis games. So
yeah, I knew about the Valis games. Beast Wrestler, I definitely had as well for the Genesis.
Yeah, yep.
Not a great game, but it's an isometric fighting game. Probably where they got some of the inspiration for this game, to be honest.
Yeah. Telnet definitely had a very mixed track record over the years. They definitely had some good games. Definitely had some the bad games, whatever. But anyway, so they developed and published this game themselves in Japan, and then they were big enough that their publishing arm, which I already mentioned, they had a publishing arm, Renovation, was the ones who actually published a game like North America. Obviously, this game was made to capitalize upon the whole fighting game craze going on the time period. It's pretty basic as far as fighting games go. There's two difficulty levels: easy, normal. You can either play. They can play one player, two player. 7 fighters that you pick from. You pick your fighters you want to play as, fighting against everybody else. Then you face against 2 bosses, fighting the final boss in the game. So the story is pretty basic, pretty typical. Never fighting games like this time. These 7 fighters are part of the Doom Squad, which is a group of fighters who are working for a main sorceress who wants to take over Earth. One of the characters decides to betray the squad and fight for Earth instead. And whichever person that you decide to play as, that's the one that does the betraying. So, and then you are able to pick which opponent you face, which is a very nice touch. Most fighting games do that randomly. So to actually have a fighting game where actually able to pick your next opponent it's different. So we'll give it that much. And you are able to upgrade your fighter a little bit. You do earn ability points, winning a battle. You're able to use that to upgrade either your arm power, or leg power, defense, vitality, or soul power. Again, that's fairly unique for fighting games.
Yeah.
So there are some things this game tries to do differently than other games. The other games of the time period. So I give credit for that. So Joe, this is your pick. This was the game you were trying out. So what were your impressions?
Yeah. So I guess for an early one-on-one fighting game, inspired by the craze that was going on because of Street Fighter 2, this isn't the worst thing ever. You got my biggest issue is probably how the game operates more than anything else. So B jumps, I constantly kept on hitting up. That's just a habit. If you're a fighting game fan, believe me, the B button as jump just, I don't know, it threw me off. That being said, X, you have punches, Y's, you have kicks, and then your left and right buttons are your block. And then you generally have one special ability that can be used by the fighter, and that's going to be you're either going to hold a direction in a certain amount of time and then hit the corresponding attack button, and it will do that attack, or it's like a hold back and then forward motion. That being said, the AI, of course, does not have to charge it up like you do. So this game can be kind of brutal. Even on easy, they will kick your butt. It took me quite a while to win my first fight, which was kind of disappointing. I just basically ended up giving up on trying to do the special moves and just went in, punching and kicking to get through it. But like you said, this game has some unique features. So one is obviously, if you win the fight, you get kind of like an upgrade point, which can be used to upgrade either arm power, leg power, your defense power, vital power, or soul power. Honestly, I didn't even work on defense, vital, or soul power. I just pumped up my arm and leg power, and that was enough to be able to get me to progress.
I do agree with you for the most part about that. The controls, and this is actually something that I want to talk about more toward the end, but it's kind of relevant to talk about it here. The controls do take a bit to get the hang of, like any kind of fighting game. However, I was surprised, that I do appreciate. They're actually very simple controls. I might as well just mention this here. If you're trying to learn to play a fighting game, I think this actually is one of the, this might be one of the easiest games to pick up and play because of that reason. Because the combos are very easy to pull off. The controls, like I said, once you get the hang of it, they're very basic. There is that, don't do up to jump like most fighting games,
right?
That you have to get you used to. But yeah, the controls, they're simple, they're consistent, they respond well. Hit detection wasn't a problem, at least to me. The controls felt, a little bit stiff. I mean, your fighters do kind of feel like a little bit like sluggish.
Yeah.
But the actual moves themselves are snappy. They're easy to do. It's like the control. I'm not a big fighting game fan, so I struggle trying to do complicated things in fighting games. This game was very easy to pick up and play. I really do appreciate that.
And the one thing I do like about this game also is there's a total of 9 fights that you're going to go through. And with those 9 fights, you have the 8 fights.
6 in the squad plus 3 bosses. Yeah. So 9.
Yeah. So it is 9. Okay. So it's cool that you can select who you fight next and whatever else. So that's pretty cool. You will also have a shadow fight, which is obviously you're fighting yourself. And then, can we agree that the boss's name is pronounced Ashuru? That's how I was going with. And he kind of just looks like a Goro ripoff, but he's your big bad. And he's got a bit of a challenge to him. It wasn't horrible, but it definitely took me a while to get used to his fighting technique and, be able to beat him.
Yes. Yeah. The final boss main definitely poses the most challenge because of all the attacks you can do.
Yeah, it doesn't matter how much you've upgraded yourself. Like, God, I can only imagine like having to fight him without the upgrades. that would be horrible. Right. But I mean, there's something here that's there's a base for something that could be better. Like, I think if they had worked on a sequel to this, that would have been 1,000 times better than what this was. And this is definitely the groundwork of something bare bones, and I think it works really well, especially considering the inspiration of Street Fighter. A lot of the complaints I do have with the game, it's a little slow. Hit detection is, for the most part, pretty spot on. But it's really with the other stuff that we talk about, with sound and music and things of that nature, more than it is, the actual mechanics of the game itself.
So I actually I played this game on easy first, and I was actually able to get through the whole game without too much of a challenge. Normal felt about right. I'm sure fighting game veterans will complain the game's too easy, but for somebody like me who's not very good at fighting games, normal felt just about right. Yeah. As far as I lost some battles, had to retry them a few times, whatever. But I was able to get through the game. The playthrough videos online are like about 2 hours, give or take, to go through the whole game in normal difficulty. There is a password system. I should mention that you are able to use to see your progress. So don't feel obligated to play the whole game in one sitting. But the difficulty felt about right. There are some challenging fights, especially the fights especially that final boss. But it certainly was an easier game than say Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, which are brutally hard and you have to learn what you're doing real quick on playing those games. Yeah,
I mean, the biggest thing for me was this was clearly designed with the console in mind, not the arcade. Whereas, Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat are designed with the arcade first and then, home console. So, yes, I totally agree with you.
Let's talk graphics. Graphics to me in this game are a mixed bag. And this is the connection to the Cosmic Fantasy series. The series I teased earlier. The regular graphics, that is the graphics you see when you're actually playing the game, fighting the stages, are pretty average at best, to be honest. I mean, this is not if you just look at screenshots of the fighting game, the fighting game parts itself, it's not that good. The sprites are large. I'll give them credit for that. And they do have a lot of detail. The backgrounds are also very lush and detailed for all the stages, but there's just no depth to them. There's no, everything looks more like slightly upgraded, slightly upgraded the 8-bit graphics as far as the actual fighters themselves and the background graphics. There's detail here. There's just not very. It's not what you would expect playing a Super NES game for sure. However, by contrast, the ending you get at the end of the game, which varies slightly depending upon which fighter that you use to play the game. That ending is very beautiful looking. Yeah. And the reason for that is because this game was actually developed by, as I mentioned previously, by Telenet's Lasersoft branch, which also did their PC Engine and PC Engine CD games like Cosmic Fantasy. So those folks or more experienced making games for better graphically quality CD games than like console games. So I think what happened here is that they were inexperienced trying to get to Super NES games, Super NES graphics. They had the room to put in their CD quality ending that they were used to making, but when it came to the actual graphics for the regular game itself, they did the best they could, but they didn't really have the experience or the space or the space or whatever to do that. So, that's my best guess. It looks like what the game looks the way it does. So, not the worst Super NES game I've seen as far as graphics for sure, but it definitely, we compare it again to like something like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. It's definitely like, 2 steps down.
Yeah, absolutely. And, my biggest gripe for me personally was I wish the sprites were a little bit bigger. They don't need to be like huge, but like another inch or so would have been fine. Or maybe like
we were picky.
Or 1 or 2 like head sizes bigger than what they were. You could see the detail in the characters. I like the anime aesthetic. It definitely like appealed to me. But at the same time, like I can see as an average person looking at this game, they're gonna say that the sprites are too small. I could definitely see that being a thing. But yeah, other than that, I agree with everything you've said, Greg.
Music and sound effects are also kind of a mixed bag. The music is fine. I mean, it's not terrible, but it's also not very when you compare it to the music that you're playing like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat, it's nowhere near that quality. It's serviceable for the gameplay and the gameplay. That's about it. Sound effects were pretty good, though, I thought, for the most part, with a few exceptions. They got the job done.
Yeah, sound effects are fine. It felt like you were getting hit or you were landing a hit when someone pulls off a special. It felt spectacular enough to where it conveyed that I did something special. I'm with you. The music is completely forgettable. It sounds like elevator music. And as much as you say it's serviceable, I do not feel it fits the motif at all. But that being said, the sound effects are still good. The graphics are okay. As Meatloaf once said, 2 out of 3 ain't bad. So, yeah, I'll take it.
I probably should talk about the fighters themselves just for a little bit. They're mostly like strongly inspired by other people, which is kind of obvious when you look at them. But there are a couple of interesting fighters here. At least I thought. You have Sledge, who's your stereotypical hothead fighter. Yeah, exactly. So, and then Laban's also Laban, who was going to say he's very Ken inspired, but
I saw him more as Ryu, but yeah,
one of them is Ryu, one of them is Ken. Yeah. So, but Amon's interesting design. Graphically, I think he looks the best. He's just a metal singer. So not really. Yeah. If you're not too much to write home therefore. P-Lump, what a name, is a very Karnov inspired fighter for sure, I think, who uses hair to attack. Again, was it Bakla in the Street Fighter games who uses hair as a weapon? Was that his name? One of the fighters definitely uses hair as a weapon there.
In Mortal Kombat, you have Sindel who uses her hair, but in Street Fighter...
Okay, maybe that's what I was thinking about, yeah. Daisy's operating to take a Poison Ivy, pretty much like enough said there. Yeah. So, Grimrock, which I guess they borrowed from Transformers.
That's what I was thinking.
Is a giant lizard who basically he's one of the most he's one of the most interesting things, interesting fighters. The one unique fighter on here, I thought the one I actually played through the first time is New Form.
Yeah.
Who looks like I would take, I'll borrow whatever, like what reviewers said about him, because he pretty much summed up better than I could. New form is what happens. Is what happens with T-1000 mates with a T-1000 mates with a Capri Sun.
That's actually really good.
I mean, so we have like two unique fighters here at least, like in this game.
Yeah.
So just something at least, but none of them are terrible. Again, we're saying this a lot here. It's serviceable. It's fine. I mean, it's not offensive. It's just like they're okay. They're here. Here's somebody to try to beat the game as. They're not that different from one another as far as their attacks go, minus special abilities. So there's really not that much here to write home about as far as the different fighters, unfortunately.
Yeah, I mean, compare this to something like Rise of Robots. This is the much better game to play for sure. Yeah.
So who'd you use mostly during your play experience, Joe?
So I mostly used Sludge.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, he's the first guy that's selectable, and I was able to pick up on his abilities rather quickly, and I was able to get through the game with him. So I was like, well, why change?
Yeah.
That's the thing about this. Like once you go through it once, you're good. I don't think there's a reason to go through multiple times. I'm sure the ending changes, but I don't think it changes enough that warrants going back through with each individual fighter.
Yeah, you can always see the YouTube endings. The endings on YouTube if you want to. Like I said, graphically the endings do look very nice, which is why I think it's like worthwhile looking them up. But the endings really don't change that much between like each fighter. But at least there's some, but at least there is some replay value here.
Yeah.
I like these fighters. So I do appreciate also the fact this game has 2 modes of difficulty, because the easy mode was, the game, you could argue the game already was easy enough, but having easy mode actually present here does make it very presentable for pretty much anybody to play.
Yeah.
Which again, it's like during this whole craze, I'm sure like folks who were interested in playing, but really didn't know how to do so. But so I think that this was probably one of the easier, if not the easiest game of the time period to pick up and just experience the first time and try to get used to things.
Yeah.
So. Anyway, before we move on to final thoughts, did you have anything else you want to say about the game, Joe?
No, I think we pretty much covered it.
So this game really was a victim of timing. Had the game come out just a little bit earlier, had it gotten released in North America in 91 or 92, when Street Fighter was still pretty new, and there wasn't a ton of clones already out there for the various consoles, I think this game probably would have done very well. But by the time the game actually got developed and released in North America, like early 93, the market was already saturated, and this game really didn't have a chance trying to stand up against them. I do think the box cover the box cover art looks very nice.
Yeah.
That would have, that alone would have gotten some eyeballs, but it's like it didn't have any kind of big name recognition or even a big company behind it, because because like Lasersoft was the branch of Telenet Japan that the game's published under, and like nobody really heard about that. So it's like, just a combination of like too late timing, like in the market, not having like a big name behind it. Unfortunately, meant the game didn't sell very well.
Right.
Didn't get you didn't get reviewed, but didn't get reviewed by by many publications either. As far as in Japan, Famitsu gave it 24 out of 40 when it came out, which is like respectable rating. The only 2 American magazines I could see that gave the game a review when it first came out was one called Power Unlimited, which gave us I would give it a score of 75%. In all games, give like 3 to 5 stars. So, yeah, those are all like, so all three of those are average up to pretty average ratings, as far as like, the game, which seems fair, I think, like in hindsight. So, but anyway, so there are some cheat codes present like this game. One difference between easy mode, normal mode, like I said, normal mode passwords are given to you, easy mode they're not. The passwords actually are still generated for you in easy mode, but you can't see them by default. There is a code you can put in on the second controller, to make the game show the password to you. So that's a nice touch. There is a way to be able to get the visual test menu to come up. We can see we can see like various things in the game, and you are able to also, for the Japanese version of the game, you are able to access like a hidden image, like in the ending. By waiting 3 minutes and doing a code. And then also, somebody found this trick also. That's a very weird trick. I've never heard of another game having a trick anything like this. I didn't want to call it out. There's a way to view every character's ending in this game. And if like for some reason you want to do that, and I do that without actually playing the game. And how this person found it, and how this person found this out themselves, I have no idea, because this is one of the read ones, like the obscure things. You plug a Super Scope if you have one. Like the second controller port. Turn the game on, and you see a number. Then you can use the D-pad to make the D-pad change the number. Push the button after the number, and you're able to see whatever ending that you selected. I guess for some reason having the Super Scope plugged in causes a debug or test menu to come up. Is my best guess, but
interesting.
Yeah, it's very weird. Like I said before, how anybody found this is beyond me, but they did. Maybe he had it plugged in and forgot about it, and so I don't know. But anyway, so again, that reviewer I mentioned previously on YouTube, who also said the same thing, like about new form I copied from, summed up my thoughts on this game very well with the final paragraph. Doomsday Warrior is a decent game. It's a decent enough game for what it is, but it lacks substance, depth, and polished. Wouldn't want to spend $60 on it, but as a rento, definitely have as a rento, like the perfect rento because you have to get some fun with it, and that's pretty much how I feel about the game too. So that was my final thought. As far as the game goes, like a good rental game. Maybe you can buy the game for cheap somewhere, not for full price, and definitely not. Not a game you're gonna go back to on a regular basis. I thought, I didn't think it was the worst fighting game on the system. We have played worse, but it's just a very wannabe Me Too clone that came out in this time period that just doesn't do enough to make itself stand out, unfortunately. Yeah. How about you, Joe?
I mean, I can recommend it because I think it's very accessible. Outside of that, I mean,
since it's on the Switch.
Since it's on the Switch, I can definitely say go and play this. That being said, $60 for a cart, I definitely couldn't do. I would definitely, at that point, be like, no, skip it. But since it can be played on the Switch, check it out. Don't listen to what we gotta say all the time. Go play the game yourself and form your own opinion.
So I'm sorry the game wasn't as good as you were hoping that it might be, Joe, but
it could have been a lot worse.
Yeah. True. Yeah. So I think, and the fact that the game is on the Switch, for good or for bad, definitely means that, people's eyeballs are probably on it. So it's probably seem like so you're talking about this game like this does kind of seem like relevant. So, it's fine. I had fun with it, like what it was. There are things this game does do differently, which I like. So there definitely are some high points, and I definitely will emphasize the high points. But I mean, I did emphasize the high points like they were. So but anyway, so we teased at the beginning. We're doing 2 fighting games back to back. We are doing another fighting game next time. It's a very different kind of fighting game this time. This was my pick, I believe, this time around. So we're going to be covering a game called Weapons Lord, whereas this game was more of a Street Fighter-ish clone, Weapon Lord is more of a Mortal Kombat-inspired clone. So, definitely, while still a fighting game is definitely different enough in style that we felt comfortable like doing these things like back to back.
Yeah.
So, look forward to that game next time. Anyway, that's about it for this episode. As always, I appreciate you listening to us. Questions, comments, feedback can be left on our Facebook page, or also send me an email directly to the SNES Podcast at yahoo.com. Joe, where can they reach you at?
You can find me on Twitter at JOESUX30, and I have a very public Facebook, so you can look me up there. Yeah.
Alrighty, folks. As always, thank you very much for giving us some of your time. We'll catch you again. We'll catch you again next time in 2 weeks. Stay safe, everybody. Be well. Later.
Bye.
Nintendo controls 80% of the video market. But no matter how you play the game, or which game you play, things definitely have come a long way since Pac-Man.
Now you're playing with power. Super power.